All right, and joining the Fred Minnick Show is the great Paul Charchian. Charch, welcome back to the Fred Minnick Show. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I'm just disappointed I'm not in studio with you this year like I was last year. We
Yeah.
had we had an epic event. I think the final tasting number was 14. I think we tried
Yeah.
14 different bottles
Yeah, and
that
that
night.
that was your first time to taste Pappy, right?
It was and remains my only time to taste Pappy, and
Oh,
it's probably
wow.
gonna it may stick that way until next summer when I invite myself over.
Well, and
Yes.
and Charch, you are my show's first three-peat. So you're my first guest to be on 3 times.
Yes! Yes!
So
Take that, Indomitian Sue!
yeah.
Take that, Manning Brothers! Ha ha!
Yeah, and Dominican Sue would be up for it, but I didn't want to reach out to him this year. I didn't want him to like blame me for the collapse in the playoffs. So
Well,
you know.
that could be. He might be available right now. If memory serves, I don't think he's on a team right now.
Oh,
So,
really? I
yeah.
thought he re-signed with Tampa Bay for like 1 year. I don't know. Maybe he didn't.
I believe he is. I'm going to go free agent right now, and I think that means he's available. I think you
Okay.
should get him on the show.
All
Trying to
right.
maybe raise his
Well,
profile
we
a little
know
bit.
we know he likes the bourbon. He owns a piece of a bourbon brand. So he's an investor in a couple of them. So
Wow, good investment, by the way. Nice way to
yeah.
go. That's not bad. Have enough money to spread it out among
Hmm.
multiple distilleries. Good for him.
I know. Yeah, he's smart like that. But so today is going to be a little different for me in terms of the format. I've changed it up a little bit since I last had you on, and I'm having to change it up for this episode out of necessity because you have 6 blind flights with you.
I do.
A
Delivered
all
in, by the way, and I should mention this.
Yeah.
Delivered in this beautiful Fred Minnick keepsake box right here.
Yeah, you get to
Wow. I mean,
use that. Put your
very nice.
screws in for when you're doing your electrical work. Something like that. Uh,
That's right.
but so you've got 6 tasters there, and I unfortunately know what they are. I usually don't know what they are, but I had to pour them this go around because
Ah.
I was, I'm in between assistants right now, and it's really difficult to blindly pour something, and
That
you know,
can't be done.
it's tough, right?
Now, what
So
I want to know is how do you keep driving away your assistants? I mean, what is the dark side of Fred Minnick that makes it so
well,
that your assistants do not want to work with you?
you got to clean the spit bucket. I mean, that's where. No, it's not. It's not that bad. Actually, Allison got a gig at the Kentucky Distillers Association, so that's like going
That's
to
pretty good.
that.
Yeah.
That's like going to the Yankees in my world. I'm minor leagues, so she got
Now she won't return
called
your
up.
calls.
Yeah, but I've got someone who helps me, but he just couldn't get over to do the pouring for you, and I had to get it to you before I started traveling, so I was just like, I'll tell you how we'll do it this time is like you're seasoned, man. You've got your own blind tasting thing that you do.
Yeah,
So
whiskey weekend, middle of February, central Minnesota, snow, tundra everywhere. 10 guys, 10 bottles of whiskey that have never made the trip in the past. Where this will be year 15 coming this
wow.
February. And so we'll be 150 bottles deep into this, and it is the highlight of my entire year.
And no phones, right? You all like cut out communication.
Well, okay, there are phones there, but there's sort of the unwritten rule, which is don't spend the whole time on your phone. I mean,
Right.
this is your chance to get away, like unplug. No women, it's all guys. Just this is your chance to set all that stuff aside, and people are very good about
Yeah, and it's I haven't had a guys' weekend like that in a while. And usually when I'm around whiskey, it's technically work. So
it. That's right.
it's technically
you,
work for me.
you can write that off.
It's
Yes.
all a write off. My whole life's a write off. But so how it'll work today, you will go through the tasting.
Mhm.
You're going to rank them, but if you call me in and say, I need your help with glass A, I need your help with glass B, or whatever it is, I have the bottles with me, and if you can't see me reaching that right there, can you see
I
my
can.
hand in the frame?
Nope.
then I can distinctly pour from the bottle,
Oh, perfect.
and I'll be able to taste it with you. But I need you. It's kind of like I'll need you to call me in like a rules assessment. I don't know. Like I don't have an equivalent there, but
Well,
you
you'll
call
be
me if you need
tasting it
help.
with me though, right? I mean, you'll know what it is, but when I'm drinking mystery bottle A,
Okay.
I assume you'll be having some of bottle A as
All
well,
right. So
right?
you want me to taste along with you? Okay.
Heck
I'll do that.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, absolutely. Please.
I won't use any of my. I won't call. I'll try not to call out any tasting notes to influence you.
All right,
How's that?
deal. Right.
Yeah.
I'll
All right.
I'll go first, and then you can tell me all the things that I totally missed on, and like,
Okay.
what? You didn't get tobacco out of this? What's wrong with you? Yes.
You're seasoned enough, though. You got this down. But
Well,
hey,
what I remember from last summer is how impressionable I am because I can sit. You're so good at this that you tell me there's a flavor in it, and I go, my brain goes, oh, of course. Fred said, yes, that must be right. I am getting coconut now that you mention it.
speaking of coconut, you got one of the little tricks up my that I use to keep from having a hangover the next day when you do these, and that's the coconut water.
It is. That was such a great idea. When we did our 14 bottle tasting, you made me finish up all of this coconut water. And you're like, finish it all, drink it all, get to the bottom. And I did. And I felt great. That's easily the most I've drank without feeling any side effects the next day. That was a
Well,
great tip.
you don't do this for 16 years without learning a few tricks of the trade. The
I
guy
suppose
from
so.
the guy from Sam Adams Beer says he'll like eat a pack of yeast before he
What?
goes drinking, which I don't think
Oh,
that wouldn't
what
work
the?
with
What
whiskey,
the?
but
Whoa.
yeah, that's a little
Jeez.
much. Yeah.
Like one of those bakers packs. So you just
Yeah.
like pour it in your mouth.
He just
What is
shoots the
wrong
shit.
with
Yeah.
him?
Mhm. Well, he keeps
Oh,
keeps him from getting hammered, he says. But
okay. I'll get hammered. Thanks.
but that's how we'll do the tasting. But in terms of like, I wanted to talk about guillotine leagues because we're coming back to it. We got a draft this Thursday. I think it's Thursday, with the Zabes, whiskey league that the three of us kind of created, like just on a text thread a long time ago. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it. It's where he organizes, brings all his people in, and we all have an entry of a bottle of whiskey, and we go.
Yeah.
But it's on guillotineleagues.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the URL under Charch's name. It's also in the description for both the podcast and on YouTube. But I love Guillotine Leagues. I love it. It's
Oh, thank
absolutely
you.
awesome, man.
The premise is pretty unique. We start with 18 teams because there's 18 weeks in the season. There's no head-to-head play. At the end of each week, the low-scoring team gets cut from the league, and their entire roster goes to the waiver wire, where the rest of us, it's just pandemonium as we bid on the players that just hit the waiver wire because you get a whole draft's worth of
Mm-hmm.
players. So, after week one, it could be Dalvin Cook and Tyreek Hill and Leonard Fournette and DK Metcalf and Josh Jacobs and Tom Brady are all the waiver wire. It's like never happens in fantasy football.
Right.
And so now the strategy comes in with when to spend your free agent budget throughout the course of the year. Hold it too long and you get chopped while you're holding 900 of your 1,000. If
Mm-hmm.
you spend it all too soon, it gets to the midseason, you don't have any money left. So
Yeah.
that's the part of the beauty and the strategy of the Guillotine League. In our variation, Fred, the winner gets a bottle from the 17 other people. So you get to pull in 17 bottles of whiskey. And you know what? It's winning money's great, but it's not the same as when 17 bottles of whiskey show up
Yeah.
at your door. That's a trophy.
With their, I think the stipulations are it has to be, a pretty decent bottle. But
$50.
the guy who won it last year doesn't even like bourbon, even though we've tried to get him to like it. It's like Zabe's producer,
Yes,
and
Josh.
they kicked him out. They
Like,
kicked
we're
him
going
out
to
of the
send you
league.
17 bottles of whiskey and you're not even going to drink it. You're out.
Yeah.
We don't
And
care that you're the champion.
and my entry was a Michter's 10-year-old, and it
Oh,
was in Big Mike and Jeff was like, man, Don't send him that. He doesn't
No,
deserve it.
totally lost on him. You gave me one of those bottles when I was there last summer, and I'm down to like 1/3 on it. I don't let myself drink nearly all that I want from it. That is an amazing bottle.
That's
good.
a good pour. Yeah.
It is. Michter's is great in general.
They're a great brand. I said band, brand, but I'm all about sharing. That's what whiskey's all about, and I kind of feel like fantasy football is like is a lot like whiskey. Like there's camaraderie there, but the difference between whiskey and fantasy football, there's a lot of shit talking in fantasy, and there's been so many crazy bets over the years in fantasy football. I was curious, is there one that comes to mind as like the biggest loser bet?
So a lot of leagues have now got loser penalties. If you finish last, there's some penalty involved, and there's been some outlandish ones. For example, I'll give you 3. Number 1, and maybe the worst of the 3, the loser has to get the tattoo of choice that the winner gives you. So, Fred, that means I could say, I want you to put Kim Kardashian on your leg. Yeah, that's a pretty bad loser penalty. I'll give you another one. I know a league in Washington where the winner gets to send the loser to the geographical location of his or her choice on Super Bowl day. So you have to spend, if you're the loser, you have to spend your Super Bowl wherever they send you. So they've sent people to International Falls, Minnesota, which is the northernmost point in the continental U.S. They've sent people to Devil's Tower, where you are assured to have no TV, no nothing else. So they send people all over and you got to go at your own expense to get there. I love that one. And then there's this one, another loser penalty that I love. You're familiar with open mic nights at comedy places.
Right.
The league gets to write your comedy routine, which you have to read cold first time at open mic night.
Oh my God. That's bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's bad. You can only imagine.
I think the other 2 I could handle, but I wouldn't want my crew giving, writing down open mic night for me.
No, at that point you're begging for dad jokes because that's the best possible thing that could come out of that, I think.
So I am looking at the Charch's free cheat sheet. You can go to guillotineleagues.com to get it. I got to say, everyone, all these fantasy experts out there, they all seem to kind of like follow paths. And what I love about you is it's like you have your typical A-listers, but you will have someone that no one is anticipating. And like last year you told me, like when I was going through my draft, you told me to get the 2 the 2 Denver running backs. It was
Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams.
Yeah, that's who it was. And it was like that was one of the only positive things about my team last year. Because I was like and it was like you had them ranked so closely together and like no one else did. I don't know if it's because they're on the same team, but one thing that stuck out to me is you have Jalen Hurts as your number 2 quarterback.
I do.
I mean, over Burrow, over Herbert, over Mahomes. I know. So, man.
Yeah. So first, one of the advantages of having your own cheat sheet is I don't have to answer to anybody. I don't have to group think it, right? So back in previous parts of my career where I had a writing staff of 8, 10, 12 people, you pour everybody's rankings together, and by the time you got done, it really filters out to being just the same as everybody else's. Now, I have the luxury of just putting together the cheat sheet that I want. That's just my opinion. And so if I want Jalen Hurts to, I can do it. I'm like, okay, he's the second guy I would take because Jalen Hurts gives you freaky upside with all of the running that he has. Last year, he only threw 16 touchdowns. 16 touchdowns is nothing in the NFL in today's passing world. He only threw 16, yet he finished as quarterback 6 because he ran the ball so well. We don't think that running's going anywhere. And his 16, and now what will be effectively his second full season of work, that 16 turns into 26, which is still low by the NFL standards. But if that goes to 26 and he's got 10 more touchdowns than he had last year, that puts Jalen Hurts on track to be roughly quarterback number 2, and that's why I love him there.
Oh, okay. Mahomes was felt like he had an off year. I mean, I had him on my team, and he,
yep.
You know, I did the old Tyreek Hill Mahomes combo, and I feel like, you know, that I try to do that every year, like have the quarterback and wide receiver combo. I think I'm going to get away from that this year. It just hasn't worked out for me. Do you think that's a good move?
I decouple those, because if your quarterback gets hurt or just has a down year, and Patrick Mahomes did, there was a stretch of about 6 games around November where he really didn't do much, where now you lose double. You know, and I don't love that. Not in a traditional, typically sized league. I don't put those together. I keep them separate.
What should you draft first these days? Wide receiver, running back, quarterback?
Depends a little bit on where you are in the draft, but this is a great year to go away from running back. There's not even a clear number 2 running back. Is it Christian McCaffrey, hoping he stays healthy and can perform like he did 3 years ago? Is it Austin Eckler coming off a career year? Is it Derrick Henry, hoping his foot comes back and he can overcome a bad offensive line? Is it Dalvin Cook with a new offense in Minnesota? It's not even obvious who the next best running back is. So why not take the sure things that are Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp or Jamar Chase? I love these 3 great receivers. You can get them littered throughout the first round, and you're going to get sure, bankable output from those guys.
Yeah, it feels like like you all had. I say you all. You're a Vikings fan. I have become a. I would say I don't have a team anymore, but the closest thing that I do have as a team is probably Minnesota.
Nice.
Because my best friend in college was a Minnesota fan, and it just kind of rubbed off on me. And then when Brett Favre went there, I had a real interest in him. And so I like Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk Cousins a lot. And I just feel like you guys have, you know, hit the home run. You had Moss, now you got Jefferson. I know it's like a couple decades or so
right, about 20 years between those events. Yes.
But like those are like high level elite players, and Jefferson you have above Kupp, and I think a lot of people wouldn't be that brave to do that. But Jefferson is to me that guy. He could own the league next year, or this year.
Yeah. Most yards through the first 2 seasons of any receiver in the history of the game. That's Justin Jefferson. And it's part of why I've got him number 1 is I had a Cooper Kupp who's coming off an amazing season. But Cooper Kupp's offensive coordinator went to Minnesota and is now the head coach, and he's calling plays there. And we think he can scheme up Justin Jefferson to get him open, just like he did with Cooper Kupp. But Kupp runs almost entirely out of the slot. Justin Jefferson runs from all over the field. I think it's going to be easier to get him open. And Cooper Kupp's quarterback's already got elbow problems lingering from last year. Kirk Cousins never misses games. So I got Justin Jefferson number 1. Still love Cooper Kupp. He's number 2. Jamar Chase number 3.
So Kirk Cousins, I'm looking on the list here. You've got him at 15. I
need to move him up a little bit. I think that's probably me. I'm trying to balance my desire for him to be great, and I think he will be great with where he actually is right now. And I need to move him up. Sometimes I worry that I'm too much of a homer on Kirk Cousins.
You're high on Trey Lance though. So
I am.
I am. Is that because he's a runner as well?
It's another runner thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just the runners just give you so much upside at quarterback that the only time I take quarterback early is if it's for a running quarterback. So even though I've got like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes ranked 4 and 5, which is really early, they're not runners, but their arms are going to be great. But they don't have I don't draft them there, but you should, because they're really safe. I have a very high risk tolerance, so I will try Trey Lance, who's never started an NFL game. Well, he started 2 last year. He's never been the full-time starter before. I'll try Trey Lance, and I'll roll the dice on somebody like him. More I guess, more easily than other people will.
When we look at running backs, I see that you really went with some great runners in the 1-2 spot. Jonathan Taylor's just amazing.
Yeah.
Got to see him play in person. That was fun. And Joe Mixon, I didn't know Joe Mixon had kind of made it to that echelon. What do you expect out of him this year?
Well, Joe Mixon, I'm the only guy who's got Joe Mixon 2. Everybody else has got him at 6-ish, 7-ish. Mm-hmm. I just feel like there's no downside on Joe Mixon. So he was already good last year. The offensive line got 3 new starters that are all massive upgrades over the players that they had in those spots last year. Defenses have to respect the passing game with Joe Burrow throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So defenses can't key on Joe Mixon, and he gets all the goal line work. Last year, only 1 carry went to any running back other than Joe Mixon, and it was only because Joe Mixon wasn't in the game. It was a game he missed. So, yeah, I just feel like Joe Mixon is super, super safe.
Okay. I was a little surprised you had Aaron Jones at 17. That was another one. That was a little bit of a shocker to me.
I like my workhorse backs. I like these runners that get 20 touches a game. My worry is just he and A.J. Dillon, who's not far behind him. You'll know A.J. Dillon's just a few spots underneath
21.
him.
Yep.
Yeah. My worry is these guys are going to effectively split carries. So I've got just a little more trepidation than most on Aaron Jones because I like A.J. Dillon that much and just think A.J. Dillon's going to get that much more work.
And we do have a Fred Minnick Show alum making the list at number 22 on tight ends. Kyle Rudolph, now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph here from Minnesota. Talked to him many, many times through my work on KFAN. Seriously great dude, and somebody that is a huge part of the community here. Has raised lots of money, been very involved here in Minnesota, and really become one of us. And now he's catching passes from Tom Brady.
Yeah.
From the suddenly very thin Tom Brady and mysteriously missing Tom Brady. Back now, so we'll see. But yeah, Kyle Rudolph, another alumni. That's fantastic. We love him.
He's such a great guy too. Like that, I mean, you meet these players and you really root for them. But not some of them you root for, but Kyle's just a great dude.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Fred. If there's one of the things that I've learned in my time interviewing and interacting with athletes, and is that everybody thinks that they're idiots, jerks, that they didn't get an education, they're uneducated. Man, the majority of the guys I've talked to that get to this level are actually pretty sharp. They're pretty level-headed. They're pretty determined. I mean, they've got a lot of really positive traits that have got them to the professional level. We hear a lot about the outliers that do dumb stuff, but overwhelmingly, these guys are pretty sharp and pretty good people. And I think that most casual fans sort of look down, and maybe it makes them feel better about themselves. I don't know. They look down on athletes. I don't feel that way.
I think it's like that across the board. Anybody who has any kind of notoriety, social media has brought that out. And when someone gets approached about it, they're like, "Well, I was just joking," and it's just, But if you're in the public spotlight, you learn to deal with it. And but Kyle Rudolph is a great family man. He donated a jersey to our relief effort of for the tornado victims. So he had 1 year in New York, which I'm glad he got out of there.
I think he is too.
That was a tough situation for anyone there last year.
It was. Made $8 million though. That part was pretty good.
That's always good when you make the coin.
Yeah.
Now, when should you get a? This is where I struggle. I always struggle with when do I get a defense? What round do I get a defense?
Last pick of the draft.
No
second to last pick of the draft. So your kicker and defense should be the last two things that you tackle. My sneaky favorites. I got a couple sneaky favorites. Philadelphia, I believe, is going to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC. Defense has been really very revamped and entirely in positive ways. Love their draft. They got a great run stuffer named Jordan Davis in the draft. They got a linebacker from Georgia that fell in their lap, who was thought to be a first rounder, fell to the third round, named Nakobe Dean. Loved him. They signed James Bradbury from the Giants. This defense is going to be very, very much improved. And so that's my sneaky last pick of your draft defense is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Do you suggest that even if it's in a league that is really ravished by keepers, and like every team, like a 14, 16 league team, everyone's got one or two keepers. Seems to me like the defense get taken in like the 11th to 12th round, 11th to 14th rounds. And then stay to the last, stay to the end.
Stay to the end, and it's because the differentiation between them isn't so great. If there were defenses that were way, way, way better and predictably way better than the others, you would take them. Mm-hmm. But mostly they compress on their output a lot. So we don't take kickers and defenses until the end because really their output just isn't that different from one another most of the time.
Well, it's always fun when someone new comes in and they pick a kicker in the first
That's right.
rounds. It's like,
look, I'm old enough. I've been doing this long enough, Fred, where I can remember where people would roll. I mean, this is before there was like published material for fantasy football. There were like no draft guides or anything. So people would show up at the draft and they go, well, the guy who scored the most points last year was, I don't know, like Ray Wershing. So I'm taking Ray Wershing. And, they would take it, because he scored the most points last year. So I should take him first. That was a thing back in the stone age of fantasy football.
Well, if everybody go check it out, join guillotineleagues.com. I'll also have a link in my newsletter for you all to join. But that, get a crew together. They can join at any point in the year, right? Like it doesn't have to just be like at the start of the year.
Yeah, you can actually, you play with 18 teams at the start of the season, but we keep creating leagues throughout the year. So after week 1, if you want to jump into one, then it's 17 teams and then 16 teams. Every week we subtract by 1. But you may as well get in now. It's the preseason. Jump in now. Guillotineleagues.com.
Yeah,
super
fun. Preseason's almost over. So go to guillotineleagues.com. Spelled just like it sounds.
Right, guillotine. Easy, yeah.
Most people can't spell anyway, so just Google it. So that's the thing that they chop your head off with. So let's go. Let's jump into the bourbon portion of the show.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I've got Glass A poured.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm jumping on Glass A. And by the way, putting it in my official.
Oh, that's right. The Fred
Yeah,
Minnick
look at that. This is one of the great reasons to visit Fred Minnick. You get not only do you get a 10-year bottle of Michter's, but you also get is it Glencairn?
That's right. It's a Glencairn.
Glencairn. Now, I got to be careful about my pour. I just poured way too much. Holy cow.
Well, you know what?
Okay.
We got to...
We'll make it work.
We don't. I'm not like Zabe. I don't have a schedule, so we go to 4 a.m. Yeah. So Zabe is for those who do not listen to our circle here. Steve Zabin has a very popular podcast called the Zabecast, and Charch is a reoccurring guest, and he Charch will get to go and Zabe's on a pretty good. He's a radio pro, and he's on a schedule.
Yes.
So
yes, yes. We zip through topics. Yes, keeps things moving.
He keeps it moving.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that with me. All right. So
yep. You know what? Again, not to keep referring to last summer's show. I think we went about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we did. Yep.
That was a lot of fun. You put something in my mouth that was older than me.
A lot of ways I could take that, but it was
that's specifically why I said that. It's true.
It was I don't remember what it was. I have a lot of old whiskeys
unfortunately. In there. It was from the 40s though.
Okay, it was from the 40s?
Yes.
Might have been an old Kentucky tavern or the Glencoe.
I don't Glencoe sounds more familiar, but I don't remember.
It might have been Glencoe. All right, so here we are. Glass A. I'm just going to taste along with you, but
please.
you are a ranking taster here, so you just taste and comment.
I'll tell you by smell, this is going to be pretty proofy. It's got a very sharp smell.
Okay,
proofy smell.
That's
a little
accurate.
Sweet. All right, let's see what we got. there's a lot going on with that. It's fruity. It's very sweet. I'm guessing, and the proofy is definitely definitely happening. I'm guessing this is 110 to 115 proof.
Damn.
Is that about right?
That's
Am I close?
That's like you're within a point.
Okay, we'll take that. I see. For me, this is great for my palate. I like proofy, and I also want it to be. I like to have some sweetness in my bourbons, and this has some real sweetness to it and some fruitiness to it, which I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sophisticated flavor. There's a lot happening here, and the longer it sat in my mouth, the more flavors that I got out of it. And I love the ones that can change palate. And this is quite good. This is a hell of a way to start. I don't know what's coming in B, C, D, E, and F, but this is great.
I sent you some special stuff here, so you'll I
would buy this.
Do you need any comment from me on Glass A
please.
before we go to Glass?
No, absolutely. I'm counting on you to talk about.
But you crushed the. I'm not going to tell you what the proof is, but you were 1 proof point away with your range. I won't say which
109 or 116.
I won't say, but
okay.
But you're spot on. So
okay.
Put it that way.
All right.
You're definitely spot on with the sweetness, and it has some waves, right, as you're tasting.
Yeah, for sure.
So that is only to confirm everything that you were saying.
Okay.
And that's one where I just kind of want to kick back and sip.
It's for sure a sipper, and to me this is the kind I want to just leave on my tongue and just take a moment. Take it in while it's in my mouth, and then swallow and just experience the whole thing. I would grade, if I were to do a letter grade on A, I would give it an A. I really like this. This is in my wheelhouse. Whatever it is, I'm on board.
A gets an A from Paul Charchian. So let's go to Glass B. Don't forget to rinse your mouth out with a little water here.
Well, I've got
coconut.
Saltine.
Okay? That'll work. Yeah,
that'll work.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. You just wanted something to kind of reset your palate a little bit.
Mm-hmm. You got to work it around your mouth a little bit, on the tongue. Try to now. The tongue's got what I remember from 10th grade health. The tongue's got flavors, different flavor centers all around the tongue. Is that is correct?
Mm-hmm. And the thing about it though is with spirits, it is different because of the alcohol content. We have thousands of taste receptors in our tongue, in our throat, and in our belly. But the content of the alcohol will not resonate with someone unless they can handle the alcohol content. Like what you just tasted with Glass A, if you were to bring in a total beginner, that they would not be able to taste any of that stuff.
That makes sense.
Very rarely could they. And in fact, most people don't even, most people outside of these circles don't really appreciate the nuance of it. They will still kind of look at this as as just an intoxicant or something.
Wow. Okay.
But,
I can see that. If it gets proofy enough, somebody's just bam. Wow, that's just too much.
They just taste alcohol. And, but the fact is once your palate is accustomed, spirits is broken down on the tongue in kind of four quadrants. The tip of the tongue, which is where the sweet notes are, the middle, which is savory, the middle back, which is a little line there, that's the bitterness line, and then the back, which is the spice, and you can also taste bitterness on the sides of the tongue. So that's basically how the tongue can work. Now,
all right.
Some people will still taste they'll taste sweetness on the back of their tongue, but most people will taste just spice back there.
Bottle B. Let's
Glass
see
B.
Yep.
This is a strange follow-up from A.
Going to be very different. I want to show everybody the color a little bit so they can see this. It's very caramel colored. Maybe a little bit lighter than the last one.
So the fact you showed, bring that to the glass again. Can you show me the other one?
The previous one, B, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
well, it's still in the bottle, but there it is.
Show them next to each other.
Oh yeah.
So B
is a little darker. Yeah, B is a little darker.
Then I poured the wrong one of the brand for B. Go ahead. Go ahead and taste.
Okay.
So take a look at mine. That does not look like yours.
Now it could just be the difference in our cameras or whatever, but no, it does not. Yours is much more golden than mine is.
That's the A. So now I gotta.
Okay.
Man, I can go to shit real quick without an assistant with this. Stuff,
we need. Who wants to be Fred Minnick's assistant? Can we turn this into like a game show format? Like, who wants to work for Fred?
Yeah, I just need someone to come in and pour stuff for me and clean my office.
Slough your feet.
I actually don't want to have a meeting to tell you how it's done. I just have an expectation that you'll do it and know how to do it.
Get it done. Figure it out. Right. Yeah. It sounds very easy. Now, this smells totally different. 180 degrees from A. This is much lower proof by smell, and almost has a.
It's gonna drive me crazy, man. I'm doing you.
Wondering what this in fact is.
Well, I know what it is. I know exactly the brand. I just don't have the right. I didn't pour the right
bottle.
One. Yeah.
And do you have a couple to choose from?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a shit ton. Oh, well. This one you'll be on your own on.
Wow. I've never tasted any bourbon like this in my life. It's sour. It's deeply sour. And almost like
a sour apple.
It's in that vein, but
so then we do have the same. It might be the light
difference of the camera and the lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know obviously sour mash is thing, but I've never tasted one as I don't know, tart as this. It almost has. This is going to sound bad. I don't know how better to put it. It almost has. It makes me feel like there's almost like a rotting fruit essence to it.
Yeah.
Which is not, it makes it sound worse than it is. But yeah, this is wild.
What if I were to tell you it is not a bourbon?
Okay. Now it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Why I've never tasted anything like this. It's not an Irish. It's not a Scotch. I don't know what I'm drinking. This is wild. As much as I loved A, I dislike this for my taste. I know there are going to be people that would love this, but this is way out of my taste profile right here.
B is about
what do you think?
B is about 4 times more expensive than A.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, I bet I could see where this is going to be. The reason I think B can be some more expensive, Fred, is there's going to be people who love this, and there's going to be a niche for people who love this particular style.
Oh, I did. I think I did a review on this one.
Okay.
And I was pretty down on it.
Okay.
But this does have a particular cult following.
I don't doubt it. No, it's a rye. It's got to be.
Yeah, it is a rye.
Got to be a rye.
Yep, it's a rye whiskey. Look at the Paul Charchian putting that palate to work.
I am working it. And I'm going to see if I can go 2 for 2 on the proof.
All right, go.
85.
You are off on the proof.
Okay. All right.
But I will also tell you that while you may be off, like it's easier to detect proof in the area you mostly drink.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
so
Okay.
it's
And yeah.
very it can, when people are trying to guess proof in a different category, like bourbon drinkers will go to Scotch and think it's like it'll be cask strength, it'll be 80 proof. Like it is, it's because
Wow.
they're not used to those parts of their tongue getting lit up. It's very interesting for sure.
This so obviously it's higher because you can't really go much lower than the 85, but and maybe it's because we came off of something that was pretty strong, and so just by comparison,
Or
I went.
or it's just not your jam, you know? It's
Well,
just not your jam.
it is not my jam, so there's
Yeah.
that too. All right, I'm not finishing that one. I'm going to save some for C.
I went back to A, and damn, does it smell
Yeah.
good.
Oh, A is terrific. By grade, I'm giving, since I gave A an A, I'm giving B a D.
Damn. Woo.
I would not. I mostly while drinking B, I just wanted to get to C.
This too, I will throw this out to you that this is not a bourbon.
Okay.
C is not a bourbon, but it's also in a category that is really hot right now.
Ooh, Okay, let me show off the little color here. This is, I believe, yeah, again, yours looks darker than mine, but I'm sure it's the same thing.
It's the lighting, yeah.
Yeah, all the lighting. It's, I think, about the same as last one. All right. Yeah, I can tell by smell. This is also not a bourbon. You're right. Well, not that you would have lied, but you can smell it. I don't get a lot of proof, but I get some. We'll, a little bit sweet too. Let's see what we get. I like that a lot better, Fred.
Yeah.
This is oakier for me. I feel like I have more of a taste of the barrel in this one. Maybe a little tobacco, musky in a good way,
Yeah.
if you will.
Mm-hmm.
A little leather. Is I don't know. Do people ever say that?
Yeah.
That something can taste leathery.
Mm-hmm.
And not mean that in a
anybody
repellent way?
who played baseball was out in the field chewing on their glove.
Admit. Right.
That's if you did that, or if you're around horses, you chewed on the saddle leather. Everyone always goes to like the ball gag and like some kind of like sexually deviant thing with leather. I'm like, we have all kinds of examples that don't involve like a ball gag.
Ball gag in a mask, right?
But
yeah.
That's where it goes.
Do you remember when we were kids, Big League Chew?
Oh yeah.
It had, this was the training grounds to get you to learn how to do tobacco chewing, but with bubble gum.
Right.
With the shredded bubble gum that you put in your mouth, and
still around, by the way.
Is it really? Is Big League Chew still around?
Yeah, the fake cigarettes are gone, but I've seen Big League Chew around.
I don't doubt it. No, they don't make it tobacco flavored. That'd be really bold.
Yeah.
Tobacco flavored Big League Chew.
That would be something. Well, those were the days.
Yeah. Those were in more innocent times when you could have the candy cigarette and the Big League Chew, followed up with some Big League Chew. Tell me what you think of this one. I like this a lot better than B. It's not directly in my wheelhouse, but there's a lot of flavor happening here. I want to sip this in an old English study with my robe and a bookshelf lined with books behind me.
So, Glass C, to kind of paint a picture for you of like the trend of whiskey. The trend of whiskey is to take parts from various regions and combine them into to flavors that we've never seen before. And Glass C is a part of that story, and it's pretty darn exciting, really.
So when you say, do you mean like different regions of the country, and they blend?
Yeah. Yeah.
They
So
blend
this is
some Kentucky with some
right.
Minneapolis. What are you saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
This is a blend of straights.
Okay.
And there might even be a foreign component to it. So
Oh,
there's just this used to be an area of spirits that nobody messed around with,
I
and
bet.
now people are boldly doing stuff like that, and it genuinely is creating new flavors and styles. But Charch, when you go back to glass A,
And
after after
I.
after A has kind of like really set a tone for
hmm
you, it's like I really like what C's doing and where it's going, but I still want to get in bed with A.
I do too. No, I'm with you. A is was outstanding. I'm gonna give, just for a grade, I'm gonna give C a C. I liked it. I didn't love it. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it. But in the right spot, in the right mood, I would have C. Unlike B, which I would not have again.
Okay.
Now, can I take just a brief pause,
Yep.
because I want to talk to you about I've got two bottles, and I just want to talk to you about one of them that I found that is my new favorite all-time bourbon.
Oh wow.
I want to show you this, and I feel very fortunate to have gotten this bottle.
Oh, you got
This
some
is the
Michter's toasted.
Toasted Barrel.
Yeah.
Yes, it was not. It was not. I was very lucky to find a bottle, and oh, is it delicious?
Yeah, those are super hard to come by, and that has like a cult following that really shows up at auctions, like charity auctions.
Oh yeah.
That will outsell a bottle of Four Roses limited edition small batch, which
Ooh.
is crazy. But the way they basically take Michters and then they add it into a secondary barrel that's been lightly toasted, and
Mm-hmm.
what it does is it extracts like when whiskey goes into a barrel, it says clears the water from your tap, but chemistry wise with the barrel, it's extracting all those wood sugars, and the barrel becomes a filter very early on for like higher alcohols and things. It's a process, right? It's getting created in the barrel, and 6 to 8 years later, it comes out. It's wonderful. You get it too early, it's too woody, it's
Mm-hmm.
sappy-ish, green oak kind of flavors. But the thing that happens in that early stage is that it's filtering out a lot of stuff, and a lot of those wood sugars are like deeper down in the barrel that won't be tapped into for some time. The toasted barrels, they get high grade wood, and they put it through various techniques to get to tap into like additional wood sugars, and that's why people love it so much. Is it's got all these delicious wood sugars in it, but it's not over oak. So like oak is not the first and last thing you taste, as Paul is like making love to this bottle over here. Little
It's
creepy, actually. He's like
yeah.
caressing
It's
it and kissing
we're
it.
having a moment. We're having a moment right now with
Yeah.
the yeah. Like, do I understand correctly? Somebody told me on Twitter that the toasted barrel, the Michter's, it's like a once every 4 years event. I mean, do I have to
Um.
wait 4 more years to get another bottle? Even have a
Yeah.
chance to get
So
another bottle of this?
if memory serves, they alternate the year. Like they have like the bourbon. I think the bourbon comes out more frequently than the sour mash and the rye. But
Mm,
Michter's is really stingy. With if they don't put something out just because they feel like they need to put something out, like they need to meet a schedule. They'll just straight up say like, "Yeah, we're not feeling so hot about it," and they catch
mm.
a lot of flack for that in the whiskey community, saying like, "Oh, you're just doing that for marketing purposes," and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I really
If,
think they didn't feel good about it, and they
yeah,
release it when they want to release it. So
good for them. I wouldn't want it to be any other way. Good for Michter's. All right, thank you for letting me take that aside. that's probably my rarest bottle. I'm not.
And
I'm
then you
not
said
somebody
you
that's-
had another bottle too you wanted to talk about, right?
Well, I do. If you want to do that now, we can, or we can save it for
Oh,
later. But
you had
okay.
you got. See, this is the radio guy in you. You have
Yeah.
your own programming within the program.
Well, I kind of figured, we could just,
Conception.
we can,
I like it.
yeah, we can mix it in a little bit. So let's do the other bottle in a minute.
Okay, so as we go to glasses D,
D,
E, and F,
yeah.
we are going to, I think, get a little bit more competitive with Glass A. The first round kind of went like I thought it would. I thought Glass A would be what would win you over. I thought C would have a chance, but I knew B, which technically is the most expensive thing on the board.
Wow.
I knew that would. I mean, the most positive thing I can say about it is it had like a Jolly Rancher sour apple that had been left in the dirt for a little bit. But not a fan. Not a fan.
No, me either. B
No.
is what if like my daughter, who's 16, if I ever wanted to scare her off booze, I would give her some B. Go, here you go. Here's some whiskey. Try that. Tell me how you like that. That'll keep her on the straight and narrow for a while.
That's funny.
All right.
All right, so let's go. Let's get into D.
Yep.
And
let me show the color, which is also really similar to the other ones. Mine is, it's almost identical to the other ones, and it's lighter in real life than it looks on screen. I'll mention that, but very close to the others. There's no real hints on color here.
I'm
gonna like.
excited.
This is gonna be good. Yeah, this is. I can tell by the smell. This is already in my palate. I will be very surprised if this is not well received. D's got there's some proof here. I can smell some, but it's got a sweet aroma to it that is very appealing. Let's give this a try.
Hello, old friend.
Yeah, this is great. I can't ID it. I'm not at a level where I can just sip one and go, oh, well, obviously that's Bullet or whatever. This is very good. My tongue is tingling right now, so I know there's some proof in this. If I'm going to go back to my proof guessing, 112 will be my official guess on that.
You are close, very close on that. Very
okay, good.
But you're not. You're within 7 proof points. So it's I'll tell you, it's 119. Nah. That's 119. In the palate world, that's in
the ballpark. Okay,
that's pretty good.
I'm going to give you a flavor. Tell me if you think I'm crazy.
Okay.
Apricot.
Charch.
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you anything about this product, but write in your notes.
Okay. And I am taking notes, by the way. Yes.
Or in your mind that you tasted apricot. Okay. I am not going to comment on that.
Okay.
But
all right.
You just nailed something.
I love that. This is really good. It's got waves of flavor. It's got the heat I love. It's sweet enough so that I feel it's very approachable. This is a damn fine whiskey. Whatever I'm drinking, D is very good. A grade or D. And I'm going to finish this right now.
So I think that's going to be going to the taste off for you.
It should.
People are going to be watching this. They're going to be listening to this. They're going to be like, why don't you tell us what it is? Well, I just want to remind everyone that this is a blind tasting, and I want to wait till the end to surprise Charch. But he mentioned something about apricot in Glass D. Everyone hold on to that. When I reveal that, what the Glass D is at the end, I think we have ourselves a taster on our hands.
Oh,
we got ourselves a pro level taster.
Wow.
And I got to be honest with you.
This is the best compliment you've ever given me.
Charch, I am so proud of you. Like my like teacher heart in me is like pounding right now. Like I love it.
This is it's Karate Kid. This is like was it Miyagi? Miyagi and I mean, I'm not saying like The Apprentice has become the mentor. We're not there, but I feel like I've made a step. I made a step in the right direction.
This is huge. This is a huge moment. So let's go to Glass E.
E.
Yeah. Let's go to Glass E.
Alrighty. This color is a little redder than the others. Boy, a bit of a deep pour for myself here. We'll manage. We'll manage that.
Just remember, we're not drinking 14 like last time.
Correct. We're only at 6 this time. Oh, this one's. You've done a great job of giving me varied flavors. These I can tell by the smell. This is going to be very different than the others as well. A little proof, not a lot. You wouldn't serve me 80 proof anything. This might be 90 coming. We'll see. It's the most neutral smell of the group, but it does have a distinct smell to it.
Okay.
Wow, is that different? Wow. Is it bourbon?
Technically it could be classified as bourbon.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd have to get into their distillation techniques on this one, and
holy cow.
I'm not entirely sure this could be classified as a bourbon. Only because that I know that they have done some blending with this brand.
Okay.
Let me see. This might be a single barrel. Hold on. I'm trying to do this while you not seeing it, right?
Yeah, and I'm not even close. So know that, and I'm not. I will look away as I have another sip of this.
No, you're okay. You're okay. Yeah, this is a single barrel, so I can say with certainty that while not labeled a bourbon, this could be classified as a bourbon because
Under what circumstance would you make something that qualifies as a bourbon and then not label it that way?
So if you add, there's a lot of I don't think this would give it away. But on their designation for what they have on the whiskey is premium whiskey. They don't have, and so that I would have to crack into like their federal label approval to see what area of whiskey that they actually applied for. There are certain types of whiskey that allows you to add coloring, allows you to add flavoring, things like that.
Yeah.
That didn't happen here, but like I would just need to see like where they put it in, but it is a single barrel. I actually think this is a barrel I picked for Kroger.
Oh, interesting. All right, so you must like it. The proof on this is super sneaky. The smell was very neutral. Put it in my mouth. First shot was not that proofy, but the longer it stayed in, I really got it up through the palate, into the sinus a little bit, and down. It was very warm. This has got some sneaky heat to it. I'm going to go 110.
You're close. 5 points away. It's 115.
God, I was going to say that, darn it. All right, so we are in the ballpark on this. It's a Fred, this for me, this is a bit of an. This is a tough word to use for this. It almost has an oily texture to it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense to use the word oily?
Yeah,
here?
I use oily all the time, especially in
Do you?
rum. Yeah, I use it a lot in rum, less so in whiskey, but it's kind of I can see where you're coming away with the oily texture.
Yeah.
I would add, like, if you want to jump into, like, help you along with it. Have you ever had, like, and this could also be considered kind of in that same wheelhouse as oily. You ever had, like, leftover, like, Fruit Loops cereal milk, something like that? You know.
Well, not in 40 years, no, but
it's got like that strawberry milk. And
then
then
it's got an artificial flavor to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. It was also a little bit grainy. It tasted like, I don't know, grainy to me, but that's okay. I don't know. All right, E, I'm great. If I were to grade E, I would give it a C. I think it's just okay. I think it's just okay.
All right. Coming down with the hammer here.
I'll say that.
Coming down on the hammer with that one. All right.
A little bit.
All right, let's go to glass F.
All right, hang on. I got to saltine first.
Got to saltine it up.
And while I'm saltining, let me show you my other bottle. I happen to have insight that you and I share a preferred daily.
Yeah.
Old Forester 1920.
Mm-hmm.
To me is a fantastic, readily available, reasonably priced bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably gone through more Old Forester 1920 than any other bottle. If I'm never out of it. It's never not in the house, which is about the best compliment I can give to any whiskey.
It's actually harder to get it's harder to get in our market these days.
Really?
Yeah, because Louisville. People in Louisville, they just drink the shit out of Old Forester. So,
well, they know what they're doing. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever think things would change this way? That Buffalo Trace is impossible to find. We're auctioning off Buffalo Trace. I mean, it's all changed so much in 5 years.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years, and it's like it's actually kind of hard to cover this, you know, this industry, because like all the media entities kind of want to like own you and not let you have a voice outside of what they want. And so that's forced me to kind of like create my own stuff. And in that process, I have become like a historian, a critic, a commentator, someone just like, chatting with like celebrities such as yourself, and having whiskey and just educating people. And over that time, I've seen every single facet of the business, and from the high level executives to the to the foot sales reps in liquor stores. And there is an unhappiness across the board from like people like wanting to get something to can't get something. I want something special, can't get something special.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of settling. And in the enthusiast world, there's a lot of, I would say, disdain for certain companies and for tactics used in the business world at the executive level. So did I ever think it would get this way? I think that the distillers were trying to prepare for it, but the one part that no one could have expected was kind of like that 1980s Cabbage Patch Doll craziness.
Yes. Yes.
And it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
It's FOMO.
Yeah.
Right? It's all FOMO driven, I think. There's great readily available, or mostly readily available bottles that are out there. But once something sort of picks up traction is the thing you want to get and can't get, people want it all the more and they start buying it. Even if they don't necessarily love it, I think they start buying it. I think Blanton's. I think this happened with Blanton's, in my opinion, which I think is a good, not great bourbon. It's just my opinion.
It is way overhyped. I mean, it's never done well in my blind. Actually, it won one of my blind tastings in a public tasting in Oklahoma. It won my blind bourbon tasting in Oklahoma with like 400 people there. So
wow. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So it has
it's a big sample size. By the way, how do you get 400 You got to get enough to give 400 people a taste of Blanton's. That's not easy.
It is not easy. Fortunately, I've got ways,
connections. Exactly.
but we have but my blind bourbon series, like I work with, within the state laws and everything to, try to make things happen. And a lot of times there's a charity component. But like I'm trying to coach Zabe through this because he's wanting to do something special for a whiskey league. And I'm like coaching him through like the laws of the 3-tier system and the different states. And
oh geez,
yeah, it's a tough world out there.
He mentioned some of that to me, and I'm like, whoa, I don't understand why you can't just like find a guy who's got Pappy that'll sell it to you. You can't do that? No. Why not? I don't know, but apparently you can't.
Well, I mean, people. There are people going to prison right now in Virginia because they tried to beat the system, and they're being charged with access to a government computer, just because they were trying to get the logs of when Pappy and some BTAC were going to hit in the ABC stores. So, it's ridiculous. People are willing to get rid of their freedom,
risk jail time, to get the whiskey they want. That's ridiculous. The whiskey I want is F.
Let's go to
Bottle
glass F.
It looks like this. Again, by visually, these are all very close. This one's got a little more red in it than the others. A little darker. It doesn't always show up on camera the same way. Very sweet smelling. This smells common to me. This smells like something I might have in my pantry right now. So when it turns out that this is something totally exotic, you can throw it back in my face.
Oh, I would never do that.
This is just by smell, though. We'll see what the taste is like. This is the proofiest bottle you've given me. I will be shocked if this isn't 120 plus proof.
It is exactly 120 proof.
Yes! Take that, Indomitian Sue. That's just going to be my tagline for this entire show. Take that, Indomitian Sue.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll invite him to be in the little my little Super Bowl party, and you guys be in the same room to talk it out. So
that is a deal. So lots happening with this flavor. Holy cow! This is. I'm not at all turned off by 120 proof, Fred. I am Booker's adjacent. I'm totally cool with that. There's still some sweetness in this. It's not profoundly sweet. Like A was very, very sweet. D had some sweetness to it. There's still a little bit of that in here. It's oaky. It's woody.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I get that out of it a little bit.
Okay.
There's maybe a little bit floral, but not a lot. There's not a ton of that in it. Tell me what do you get out of this?
So this is a pretty distinct caramel, kind of a caramel.
That's good.
Bomb for me.
Yeah.
But there's also like a fried pie. like hitting in like the savory area, like those fried pies you would get from McDonald's. Not necessarily
the apple pie from when we grew up that had the searing hot filling in it.
Yeah, like you bite into it and you're like your face melts off.
Yes.
After it's cooled down a bit, not necessarily the feeling, but the hard crust on the outside, very sugary, savory, but moist on the inside too. That's what that reminds me of. It reminds me of I imagine this like being a caramel fried pie.
But I don't get. It's not as sweet, I think, as people would think when you hear caramel fried pie. I'm not getting as much sweet, or at least I'm not getting as much as you're maybe getting from it. Mm-hmm. There's some in here, but I wasn't like bang sweet. Had a lot of that in it. This is by the way, this is really tasty. I like.
Yeah, this is why we taste, right? Everyone has their own palates. Everyone's very unique, and as you have shown, you've got the cred, brother. So.
I think there'd be a lot of people who just go 120 proof. I'm out. It's just too much.
Wait, the one thing that you said is like this has like a distinct oak note for you. I want to break into that a little bit. When you say oak, is it like fresh oak, timber? Is it?
It's greener for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
See, that's a big off note for me. When I taste that, I'm out. Yeah, I hate that note.
I'm going to pour myself a little bit more right now. But not. I guess I don't mean it in such a bad way, but yeah, to me, have
you ever had it's like bitter, right? It's like in the bitterness scale.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. Thank you.
Okay. So it may be a version of oak, but different, like a unripe pecan shell or an unripe like nut or something like that.
Great way to put it.
But it's still oak for the most part.
Yeah.
So what's your grade here?
I would grade this a B. Okay. I still like it. I would drink this. I'd buy this. But I enjoyed A and D more. Those are my A's.
So we have a Paul Charchian showdown between A and D, a taste off.
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited to go back to A. I might have a problem
with A. You're just like
I enjoy this maybe too much.
Convincing it so much, it's like your love.
Yeah.
Affair at this point.
Okay. The sad thing is, I'm going to finish the A now. It's all gone at this point.
And I'll get a bottle sent to you.
Ooh, that's a binding oral contract. Viewers, you heard that. But you already mentioned this is not one of the more expensive bottles in here, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's readily available.
This particular one is a pretty special bottle, but not going to break the bank.
Okay, I like that. That's right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Side note: there was an Evan Williams that was at like $25 that I thought was really good and went off the market. I went out and bought a couple of bottles of it because it was such a good value. I forget
the single barrel.
The single barrel, exactly. I had pointed people to that. People on Twitter would ask me, give me an inexpensive bottle you think still pretty good, and I would frequently point them to that Evan Williams single bottle. I've got a couple of them in my pantry just because I could get it. Do you know why they took it off the market?
Yeah, I mean their supply is an issue. Like they have an enormous demand on all their products. Heaven Hill's the parent company there, and they frankly created that in the early 2000s when no one was really focusing on,
nobody knew what they were doing.
When no one was focusing on bourbon, and so they put all this effort into the Evan Williams Black Label to compete with Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, and they've done a good job with it. and they also own like Elijah Craig and Henry McKenna. And the single barrel is an 86 proof, and it's been a stable, but or a staple for some, but it hasn't won a competition. It hasn't been great. Now it did make my one of the years made one of the best bourbons of the century so far.
Wow.
So I mean, they have put out good whiskey with it. They just don't really. I don't know how to put this. Heaven Hill has been known. Heaven Hill consistently takes a product off the shelf and rebrands it. They did that with Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond. They did that with Old Fitzgerald. They created larceny out of Old Fitzgerald stock. So,
wow,
yeah, it's in
that
there.
is larceny. That's well named.
Yeah, it's in their history to like say like, well, it's not performing like we want. Let's rebrand it, change it up. Yada yada.
All right, so I could probably still get the same thing later. Might be priced differently or named something else.
Yeah.
But I might be able to get the same thing in that bottle.
They'll probably change the packaging and say, well, looky here, we'll change it here. Now it's instead of $25.99, it's $82.99. So
yeah, I always thought that was a very good value whiskey. All right, so we're back to A, Fred. Mm-hmm. Okay, the showdown is A versus D.
A versus D. Here we go.
Oh, I like that smell already. It's such a sophisticated flavor, and it's so different from everything else that we've tasted, and it's so much sweeter. I mean, I think there's some people who would be turned off by this level of sweet, that they would feel like I'm drinking very old Barton or something, right? And be like, this is too sweet for me. This is like a mixer or something. But boy,
hold on, you think? I don't know many people saying very old Barton's going to be too sweet. That
really, you don't think so? Oh, I find it
very grain forward.
You think so? Okay.
Which one are you getting?
The super cheap one. I don't know. It's like $18 or something, and my bottle's plastic. You know old Barton the very old Barton I'm talking about?
I'd have to see that label. I haven't seen it in the plastic, so I'm gonna make sure that
it might be plastic. I think it's plastic. I don't love that one, but I love this. This is great. I'm just saying, I think for some people and some palates, I think they would taste this and say it's too sweet for them. I don't see it that way. I love that this both has the kick that I want, the proof that I want. We already established, I think it's 116 proof, but it's got the approachable sweet flavor that feels like, you could serve this to almost anybody.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. And I know, obviously, we know what your top two is. Top two are. My top three would have been I'm
very curious.
A, D, and F. I liked F a lot more than you, and I probably would have put that in the taste off. But your top two, I think, is spot on. So you revisited the love affair with A. Let's now take a look at D.
All right, D. Still got some left, fortunately. All right. It's that color again.
Proof of the pour there.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, listeners, you may recall he tasted apricot.
Apricot
in the last tasting.
All right. I ran out of saltines. Yeah.
He's rinsing his mouth with coconut water now.
Coconut water. There were a few dregs in there.
All right. It's a nice neutral thing there. All right.
I'm trying that.
He's going in.
Here we go.
Paul Charchian takes his taste, puts his glass down, looks up. He's thinking thusly.
Wow.
I've always wanted to have I've always wanted to do like a show where I record all the tasters and I have someone like Jim Nance do the commentary over it.
I love it. Now, I've asked you about this before, but and wow, the flavor on D is just it's so unique and so special.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to get Mannings and Dominican Sue, people that maybe these are big name celebrities,
Yeah.
but they never get to talk about whiskey. Here's their chance to talk about whiskey.
Yeah.
Now, how many no's do you have to get before you get the Mannings on?
Actually, I never got a no from them. They actually approached me.
Wow.
But that was for, one episode. I've tried to get him where we've had some other things that we've talked about, but and Peyton's he's done some videos and sent them to me,
Mm-hmm.
but like I ended up getting like the numbers and hanging out and staying friends with some of these folks, and they just want access. They just want to drink stuff. Like they're no different than anybody else. They can't get Blanton's if they wanted it,
Yeah.
And so I helped Jay Cutler get his bourbon collection because he couldn't get it. He had no access. He couldn't get it. So like after he was on my show, he was like, "Hey man, can you help me find some bourbon?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll connect you to some people here and there, And so like that's kind of what it is. And I definitely have a lot of people in the show who are sports related, but the majority of the guests are music. And when I first started this out, it was because I wanted to tie it into like the music festivals I kind of helped with. But when the pandemic hit, all that shit went away. I mean, it's coming back now. Like I'll be at Bourbon and Beyond in a little different capacity, but I'm still a co-founder. Very, very excited about it. We're we got Pearl Jam, Doobie Brothers, so many great bands there, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be an awesome time, and I'll be the vision was to always set up this podcast at these festivals where I could interview bands before they went on, or before they, like I did David Byrne, or Ed Kwalchek from Live, and I that was the vision, and the vision kind of, it changed with the pandemic, but with the pandemic, the musicians weren't playing, and so they were calling me, they wanted to talk,
right.
So now it's like. Yeah, and the show won, it won a Webby honoree, and it hit number 1 last year on the music interview side, and so now I'm in that circuit when someone has a new record dropping, they want to come on the show, and I'm like, do they like whiskey? Actually, no, they're sober, and I'm like, well, I'll do sober guests, but it's a little bit more complicated because I did a coffee tasting. And like I just think that my mechanics are not adjusted to doing a proper coffee tasting while also talking, so I spilt coffee all over my computer, and I'm like, I think I'll stick to whiskey people. So, nope, I lost you, bud. Did you get a phone call while we were just there? No. All right, let's. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
All right, so there we are. We're back. We're back.
On my end, you were always perfect.
So where was I? I was just basically.
Well, we were talking a little bit about music. I was just going to mention because you mentioned David Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
I recently watched the 1985 Talking Heads movie, Stop Making Sense, and man, does that hold up great! It's timeless.
Oh.
The Talking Heads are timeless.
Yeah.
And that movie is, I think it's one of the few things, like if you go back and watch concert movies of a lot of different eras, like the 70s, if you had Led Zeppelin's concert movie, I forget the name of it. It's also dated. Their sound and that movie, Stop Making Sense, timeless. Fantastic. Highly recommend.
That's the beauty of YouTube, man. Like we watch, our kids are being raised on music from the 70s and 80s. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And like the music of that time is popular now because the kids today want to listen to good music, right? Like,
Wow. Do they?
well,
I hope so.
I would think a lot of them do because
Yeah.
it brought back Kate Bush. Kate Bush, who was
Ah,
like on Stranger Things.
running
and
up that hill. Stranger Things propelled her back into fame, which is great.
I know. I listened to that song a lot. It's a good song.
It's a great song. If you ever, speaking of YouTube and Kate Bush and that song, Running Up That Hill, rapper Big Boy talking about riding his bike to school, listening to Kate Bush running up that hill. Electric. Highly recommended. Easily findable on YouTube. Rapper Big Boy talking about Kate Bush. It's fantastic.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I love me some old school hip hop, and I will say that like I find myself these days yearning for Outkast. Like some of those early 2000 hip hop bands that just aren't around anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, glasses A and D. Who is your champion, Paul Charchian?
So, all right, this is really tough. A is super approachable. I loved it right off the bat. I love the proof of it. But D tastes really unique, really special, totally different from really, honestly, any bourbon. I think it's a bourbon. Any bourbon I've ever had. I love the notes to it. I love the sophistication of it. If I had to serve one to just like anybody, a general audience, I would pick A. But for me, if I had to buy one of these bottles, I'm picking D and I'm going to stick with it. That's my final answer. I'm picking bottle D right here.
That is an epic choice, my friend. That was number 2 on my whiskeys of the year last year. So your champion was number 2 on that, and it sold out after I picked it. And there's some funny memes going around about that. Now I'm gonna tell you what you were tasting.
All right,
the one you were in love with is a very small company, Glass A, Penelope.
Wow. Okay.
Small company. This is a barrel strength product. You can take a look at that right there. This is this is not a widely available one, but here in Kentucky and a few other states, and they are beloved by the whiskey geeks. That price point on that, I think it is around $100. And the one we like the least, Glass B, which was Chicken Cock.
Oh, yeah.
Cotton Club Rye.
Okay.
20 years old. This is a Canadian rye whiskey.
Okay.
Yep, all Canadian rye whiskey. And the price point on this, I think last time I checked, was $450.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Rye is just not in my palate, and I'm sure there are people who love it, but that would be $400 poorly spent for me. I could buy an Xbox for that.
Yeah, is that what they cost?
Yeah, about that.
Mm-hmm. The Glass C.
I liked it. Greater the C.
This is the blend I was telling you about.
Yeah.
This is a blend of American rye whiskey, bourbon, and American light whiskey.
Oh wow!
So that's a style of blending that we have not seen at this level in some time. And I think this is an exciting one. This would have been my 4th place finisher.
Yeah, it was my 4th place finisher too.
So,
what's the brand? I don't think you said.
It's literally called Proof and Wood. Oh,
Proof and Wood. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
all right, noting that.
They got a little tag here, and this bottle is $120, I think. $120,
wow.
$140.
I don't remember ever seeing that on a shelf.
I would say Minnesota probably has it. They probably have it. Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna skip your winner, which was D,
Yeah.
and so I can spend more time talking about it, and I'll go straight to E.
This is your strawberry milk.
This is the strawberry milk flavor note here. Uncle Nearest 1820. This is a single barrel, and this was either the barrel that I picked in I think 2018 for Kroger, or it was another one that I got. And I got to be honest with you, I don't have any of my notes here with it, and I didn't have any of the classification stuff with it. So, but you can see that label. It says premium whiskey, right?
Yeah. What does that mean, premium?
So it's premium would essentially be a fanciful term. Whiskey would be the only legal term.
Okay, all right.
With that. So,
all right. So I could describe my own whiskey as premium.
You could, as long as it met the very basic standards of what whiskey was.
Yes.
You know. So, but this is this is an 11-year-old. This was an 11-year-old.
Wow. All right. People love Uncle Nearest as a brand. I get it on my Twitter feeds all the time.
Well, it's an important brand to the history of whiskey. It was it's named after Nearest Green, the former enslaved person who taught Jack Daniel how to distill, and was kind of like really kind of forgotten in the history of whiskey. And Fawn Weaver, who's on the LinkedIn commercials and just a real like champion of like bringing a culture together that has never really been appreciated in American whiskey. She's really breaking down doors and telling the story of Uncle Nearest. So just an amazing person. It's a great brand, and I will say that in tasting that is not one of the better ones that I've tasted from them.
Okay. All right. Then I don't feel so bad about grading it a C.
Yeah. And C from you is still a compliment.
It's a good grade.
So
F,
we go
F,
to bottle F, which is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. This is this year's A122. A122. This was your grade B. This was a caramel bomb for me with maybe like a fried pie note, and for you, you got some oak up in there.
I did.
So this was 12 years, 120 proof, which you nailed that on the head.
So when I think of Elijah Craig, and I haven't had this particular variation of it, I think of more mild and honestly non-distinct flavors than this one. This one, to me, is not what I'm used to with Elijah Craig. The Elijah Craigs I've had in the past have honestly been more run-of-the-mill, less proofy, less challenging than this one.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, this is the barrel proof, which tends to be like people ask me, what's a limited edition bourbon that I should seek out, that I can find? Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is the one I always put him toward. This is accessible, and this is one that goes head-to-head for me with Old Forester 1920. This is not one you can drink every day or find every day, but it's in that league with Old Forester 1920.
All right. Well, that leaves us with Bottle D, my personal champion.
Your champion.
Apricot.
And what was number 2 in my top 100 whiskeys of 2021? I am going to show you the bottle, but I'm going to put my finger underneath a word of a particular type of barrel it was finished in. This Paul Charchian was finished in an apricot brandy barrel.
Yes! Woo-hoo!
So this is a rye whiskey finished in Martinique rum, Madeira, and apricot brandy barrels. The amount of people who call out apricot in this is a very, very short list. You, my friend, have what it takes to be a professional taster. Although you did say you thought it was a bourbon, it is a rye. I
did,
but I will support you in that like there's so much going on in this. I think that it's I think we should probably not try to put things, and this is why like when I'm tasting, I try not to put things in categories. I try to figure out the brand. I think
Sure.
about the palate, how many points of the palate it's on, and all that. But
Yeah.
this, my friend, is a great whiskey, and yeah.
Wow. I feel great about this, and I would love to have more of this one. Tell me what I have to do to find this bottle.
So Seagrass is now very difficult to find on the shelf.
Yeah.
And much like a lot of the things that I say are good, it is kind of my fault. And
You bring this on the community.
yeah, it you know, I got to be honest with you. I've really thought about cutting back on, just being more of an educator instead of a critic because of that. I really hate that aspect of what I do, and for some reason people listen to me. But the truth is that this is available. You can find it in stores.
All right.
You'll find it in a lot of random places.
How do you feel generally? I feel like mostly I don't want my whiskey to have been in some other barrel, whatever that might mean. Some rum barrel or whatever. I know people love Angel Tears as an example. Is it Angel Tears?
Angel's Envy.
Thank you. Angel's Envy.
There's Writer's Tears and Angel's Envy.
Yes, correct. And I just conflated those.
Yeah.
And I've got both. I've got Writer's Tears in my pantry right now. Generally, I don't love those. But boy, this was really, really sophisticated. And I can't say I've ever had a whiskey like this one.
So we are in an age of like, where is bourbon and the American whiskey conversation going? And the fact is that barrel finishes and these blends of straights, which Barrell Seagrass is both, is changing the conversation. And I hate to use this term, but it's disrupting what we know as American whiskey.
Yeah.
Up until 2000, it was introduced to us in 1999 in the American circles, but up until like 2010, barrel finishes really did not exist. And the fact is, there's a lot of flavors being extracted from them, but there's still enough of old school people, including myself, who just want to make sure that there's proper definitions, proper regulations on the books, so no one is like, bringing in a port barrel and then also going to the local liquor store and saying, "Oh, we got some port here. Let us pour that in there with a barrel."
Yeah.
So, and then that kind of like, it does a couple things. One is it deceives consumers, and two, it can make people feel like they're tasting a bourbon, not like it, and then dismiss bourbon for the rest of their life. So, it's dangerous, but at the same time, it's exciting.
That is exciting. Barrell Seagrass. This is the rye I like more than any other rye I've ever had in my entire life. It's an $80 bottle. That's approachable. I love that part of this. This is I just looked it up, and by the way, they're very happy to quote you on the Barrell Seagrass website. They're very happy to mention Fred Minnick, top 100 American whiskeys of 2021, number 2, Fred Minnick. They're very happy to note you on this. Yeah. It's if you want something bright, different, fruity, this is the rye that can change your mind, and this has changed my mind about ryes. This is a great rye, Barrell Seagrass. I don't know what the official name is. Barrell Seagrass rye whiskey finished in apricot barrels. Wow.
Yeah, it's basically Barrell Seagrass. Seagrass is the term, obviously seagrass. That's what they associated with it. And it's made, they've got this they've even got a little Easter egg. They got each little release bottling like numbered like right there, which hard to find. Got to have a magnifying glass for that. But Charch, great having you on, man. Always a pleasure.
You're the best. Thank you
This is
so
this
much for
absolutely
specifically D.
Glass
I
D, and I'll make sure
absolutely.
you get a bottle of that. I'll have something sent to you. But
Oh, thank you.
I've got a. This is my first time ever doing like what you do every day in radio, which is like press play and have all these things go. When we wrap up here, I have to press the ending button for this because I'm live taping this. So if you all at home listening to this on your earbuds don't find this to be the normal production quality, you can blame me because it's my fault. But Paul, you can be found at guillotineleagues.com. Where else can people
Yep.
find you?
At Paul Charchian on Twitter, the Fantasy Football Weekly podcast. For those of you that have already in a guillotine league, you want to find a podcast specific to that, the Chop podcast.
Ooh, I like that. The
Yeah.
Chop podcast?
Chop. You know what it's like because you've been chopped, Fred.
I've been chopped
Three times?
Yeah, 3 times. I've been
Something
chopped
like
three times. Yeah.
3 times? Yeah.
I made it
Yeah.
to like the 6th week last year, I think.
all the way to 6.
Yeah, and
We're going to get
here's where I went wrong. I didn't bid enough money on Cup, you know?
Oh, Cooper Kupp hit the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Ah,
I didn't
knowing
put
what
enough
we
money
know
on him.
now. Yeah, knowing what we know now. See, that's the bad part. You want to save money for later in the season, but if you don't spend it, you might not make it to the end of the season. That's the tricky part, isn't it?
And then you see it and then you see where everyone like puts their money.
Yeah.
And like Mr. X, the gambling guy, right? He's like putting $1 on everybody. Just like letting it just kind of fly, hoping to get someone. And there's like I think Jeff put like 400 on somebody and got him, and it was just like I put $20 on the guy.
The money, you can't take the money to the grave. That's the tricky part, right?
That's true.
But you need it later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Best of luck in your guillotine league, Fred. This was so much fun. You, my friend, are the best, and I rave. This is the last of the Barrell Seagrass right
All
here,
right.
rye. This is it. To you, my friend.
May your cup be replenished soon. Cheers, my friend.